wish you a pleasant and fruitful stay. Up next, we will be having a number of speakers, and I wish to take you through the program. For those who have not had the copies, the first speaker will take us through a topic that goes good faces, empty wallets. That is Engineer Andrew and Dr. Dianne Okwany. The next speaker, that will be after a short break, we will have Mr. Isha Dunga, who is the founder of Ecovest Consultants, who will take us through laws of wealth creation and investment. And then lastly, we will have our own pastor, Pastor Dianne, who will take us through God's formula to prosper you. Without further ado, up next on stage is Engineer Andrew Owino and Sister Dianne Okwany. This is a family. These two loves God and loves mission work. Together with his wife Dianne Okwany, they enjoy serving God through ministry to young people, to families, and through the music and health ministries. Andrew is an electrical engineer working for the government. It also holds an MBA from University, Unicaf University, as a board member for an NGO, 10x3, which focuses on economic empowerment for men and women in Africa. Dr. Dianne is a medical doctor, also working for government. She holds an MBCB from the University of Nairobi, MSc Public Health from the University of Suffolk, London, and currently pursuing MMED, Internal Medicine at the University of Nairobi. Wow, these are titles. Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, with the joy and love in your heart, help me welcome Engineer Andrew Owino. Makofi kidogo jamani, tunaruhusiwa. Thank you very much. Karibu.
Good morning, everyone. It is a privilege to share with you this morning. We are so glad to join you and to see all your happy faces. As we came in this morning, we are so excited to see the opportunities, all around this area. And we hope that through the presentation today and through the many presentations that we're going to have in the day, that we'll get to learn from one another and that we will increase our income. Money is good, right? Money is good, isn't it? Yes, money is very, very good. Yeah, sometimes my husband likes to say that money is passing, but as it is passing through the world, please ensure it passes through your house a little bit, isn't it? Yes, and that's what we are going to speak about today, and we hope that your wallets will leave here a little fatter than they were when you were coming in. We are members of Sabaki SDA Church, and we love reading. We believe that reading and sessions like this are your first step to learning. And so because of that, it has led us to learn a lot. Like he said in the introduction, Andrew did his master's in business administration and leadership from Unicaf University and is pursuing another master's. Same to myself. And the reason we say this, especially in a place where there are young people, is not to flout our qualifications, but it is to encourage you that the first step to increasing your earning ability is increase your learning ability. Did you hear me? The first step to increasing your earning ability is increase your what? Your learning ability. And with that, I hope that this session will help us learn and learn much more. God bless you.
Thank you, Hannah, for that introduction. Good morning. Again, my name, as has been said, is Andrew, and I have the privilege to to be the first one on this stage, so I will set the mood and the pace of all this seminar. And because it's set up in a Christian environment, you can allow that we will have an easy interaction. If you feel I need to mix languages, kuchanganya dini, we are always free. If you have a question, I will take them officially at the end of this session. So you can write it down. We always love to hear from our audience. I gave the subject, good faces. I have seen them, the good faces. I am yet to see the wallets, so let me assume that they are empty because my business is to keep the faces good, but through the wallet. And you will need to laugh when I make jokes. We were so glad to come here. We just enjoyed how you guys have attempted much for God. The members of this community to build such infrastructure means you are daring, and it's a work of good vision. But much more, I don't know how many of you felt the way I felt, that for the first time, an investment summit has been put forth in a church setup. This was a good thing, isn't it? When I woke up, I've been preparing whole night, whole week, and an early morning preparation. And so she was asking me, what is it about? Why are you so serious? For me, I just got the seriousness from the name of it, from the thought of it. Yeah? And we hope that in this session we will add value to each other in just learning about money. Good faces, empty wallets. I don't know if you have felt like this lately, like what I'm about to describe. Frustration, stagnation, dissatisfaction. I'm just going to list certain feelings. I don't know if you can relate with any of them. Dissatisfaction, a little bit to clarify that. I found out that from the Family and Work Institute, they recorded that satisfaction levels have really decreased, even amidst the increase of a lot of devices and events to make us happy. And they say it is related to income. That irrespective of how much technological advances we make in every other thing, satisfaction levels have been dropping since 1995, especially for people who work. And I want to stretch this into even those who have personal businesses and those who are anticipating to work. Even students have gotten into this problem, even children. There's a lot of boredom and stress, and it is wallet related. So for today, don't be deceived by the good face until you have seen the wallet. There's a bit, a lot of emptiness, a lot of scantiness and slavery. Men and women are stuck and stagnated. Debts are skyrocketing. In fact, I read in a place just after Corona, the Times magazine reported that there is a coming debt crisis. And that debt crisis was not just in the United States, it was in China. And some of you think Chinese are borrowing, even Chinese are in debt. And people are taking debts or loans on many things. They say the global debt has hit the highest amount, $277 trillion, according to the International Institute of Finance. Now, apart from that, Kenya has also been affected by this debt tsunami, that's what they call it in the magazine, with the rising price of goods, of oil. And at least I could say the Standard magazine was right last year when it reported that about 1.7 billion shillings are taken daily in loans. Now, what they did report, which I would have wanted to ask, how much of the 1.7 billion is paid back per day? Well, you didn't get the question, or maybe you will get the question when you want to send someone money and it tells you, "Iyo nilifuliza," or they keep hiding from one number to another. And apart from debt, I also want to take a swipe on matters of poverty, matters of poor income, mindset, You know, I was thinking the other day of running a TV show called The Young and the Broke. But I found another topic for it, good faces and empty wallet. I was looking at this from Haggai. Haggai speaks about people going to, in chapter 1 verse 6, sowing much but bringing in little. You know, you have not enough, you drink but you're not filled. You clothe but none is warm. You earn only to put your earnings in a pocket with, anybody has read that text? Can you finish it? A pocket with holes. The interesting text, another interesting text I found was in Isaiah. Isaiah, you guys like to read Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 28 is a text you will find in a year you will have read somewhere. But you may have not read verse 20. Maybe you read verse 10. Verse 20 says, the bed is shorter than the man can stretch himself. And then the covering on the bed sheet is narrow. Of course, this is a proverbial saying that means the things that we look forward to help us in covering ourselves from the security and the chills of the night, using the word blanket, has become narrower. The bed, you cannot stretch yourself to rest very well. So you go home to sleep and you're stressed out about bills, about loans, about debt and things like that. Now, there is even a Chinese proverb that says, money comes like sand dug up with a needle. You know how much you can dig sand with a needle? But it goes away like sand washed by a flood. You know how much the flood washes per minute, right? Is that an experience you know? Coupled with the difficult economic times and the skyrocketing inflation, I think this summit was well placed in time and in thought. The cost of living is mounting like monsters upon us. When I was young, 500 shillings, you could go to the supermarket, do a whole term's shopping and be left with fare and pocket money. Today you can't try that. There is no month at the end of the money. That was supposed to be a joke. I need to be sure that you are following. Yeah? And our world, if you look around, just walk from your house, you will see a lot of banners that are an advertisement. You open your phone, somebody wants you to buy something. Advertisements spend a lot of money to encourage you to spend, and people spend until they are depressed to impress, and nobody cares. I thought you should know that one also. Buying a new clothes and a new something, is there a philosophy that we can use to adjust our mindset in this difficult economic time? And I have two lessons that you will not find difficult to remember. Is there an easy way not only to keep a good face, okay? For that good face is also important. For some people have been stressed up with this thing and they are into depression, they're almost taking their lives. Some people have given up. Is there a way to keep a good face, number one, and not just a good face of pretense, but a good face that shows that things are okay inside? But then the last thing I'm going to answer is, how do you keep this good face using a good wallet? And I told you I have 2 points. Can I go straight into it? Yes. 2 ways. Now before I get into it, I want to let you know that there's something that has disturbed me a lot. Maybe it will disturb you now that I'm going to raise it in your mind. Have you met your schoolmates 10, 3, 5 years after school? And they are doing much better. Anybody has seen a schoolmate? Am I the one who is doing best of all your school? Well, I need to question your school, but have you met him? The guy is living in the same town you are living, or maybe let's leave your schoolmate. Have you wondered, in the same workplace where you are, someone else is paid twice more than you are paid, and you have the same problems, the same traffic, the same amount of children, you live in the same city, you buy from the same quick man, but this guy from the same company is paid twice more than you. Have you wondered about this? How much it doesn't concern you? Well, by the time I'm living here, that should concern you. Am I your way? Kila mtu ako na yake, si ndio? You know, Christians have this, it's called a teenage broke mentality, where they say, give me a better pesa kidogo. I am here as a prophet of doom. I'm going to say, may it be to you according to your faith. For me, I want a lot of money. And there's nothing wrong with money. Some people would say, oh, money is evil. Oh, the love of money is evil. You didn't read the text. You quoted somebody else. Paul told Timothy, the love of money is not even evil. It is the root. Okay, you got that. And you know, money is simply an idea. Have you seen money stealing? I wish I had some piece of paper as money to show. Money is just an idea. Have you seen money going to Koinage or doing those funny things? Money, that's paper. It is not money. It is the people who do those things. And the value of money is in the clothes you wear, the exchanges it makes, and the options it gives to you. You will be shocked how many things you can't do without money. If you have a car, you can't even park it. You will be shocked how even animals detect when you don't have money. At ATM, when you know there is a way ATM shows respect when there is money in your account. The way they talk to you. Kama hakuna pesa unaingiza hivi, unaweka pin, So money is not a problem. Money is simply a means. So today we don't talk about money, right? And I'm not going to talk about money so that you give. I am going to talk about money so that you have. The guy who was going to tell you to give is going to come next week, not today. For today, I just want you to have money, amen? So relax a little bit. Come up on a day, please switch off your phone for a while. Okay, to ufundishwe how to deal with debt. Is that right? And I'm not dealing with those two things. So if you are concerned that a child who was behind you, now, it's being a Christian. Mtu amework too hard, amehustle na kuna pesa, unaweza kusema ni Illuminati. Hakuna kitu kama Illuminati. I'm going to tell you, you messed up in two areas. How many areas? And I want it to concern you. That someone younger than you has more money than you, it should concern you. No, that one is more serious than the one who was your age with. Which one are you concerned with? Can I hear you out there? Which one are you? The one who is young. That's still Illuminati still. And we're not talking about Illuminati here. Those ones will be in another seminar when we're talking about prophecy. Today, I want to deal with the substantial. And did you know that the Bible talks about money in 22,000 texts? That's 10 times more than salvation. Don't you should know? Alafu kuna mtu hapa hataki pesa. Ni nani huyo hataki pesa? But then if you don't want money, this session is not for you. This session is not for people who have decided I will be broke. This session is not, if you have decided, you wait for the next session. Labda, what I will encourage, you know how to stay poor and how to stay blessed. No, that's not for me. Maybe I don't want you to stay poor. So if this thing concerns you, please let me tell you that men are not paid for their time. Let me start from there. People don't earn, this is for your notes, you want to take this. Nobody is paid for their time. Otherwise, you would go home and 4 hours repeated, your check comes. Otherwise, everybody would be paid the same amount of money because everyone has 24 hours. Is that right? You don't get paid for time, but you get paid for value. So before I tell you those two things, it's important to set this thing on the correct platform. Nobody gets paid for time. Write that down. We get paid for value. Now, our problem of this world today in the young ladies and the young men is they want more income without value. And that's why you find someone getting into employment, they want the next day, they're already stealing. It's the root cause of all corruption. Do you understand what I'm saying? The only way you can increase impact and income, and let me just change that. I think that came from glory. We don't work for income alone, we work for both. Impact and income. And when you reach that level, life starts getting interesting to you. At lower echelons, we work for income. Is that right? But when you rise higher, you come to this summit, will tell you there is something more to work for. So, for you to gain income, if I take compensation as one area that, defines success, and there are many areas, and that's why I'm adding the word impact, you need to know that you will be paid in proportion to the value you bring to the marketplace. This is the great economic equation. The value you bring to the marketplace. So tomorrow you get to work, ask yourself that question. What value am I bringing to this office? And in case they are paying you and you know you are not adding value, you should start getting stressed out before the month ends. You didn't hear that again. There are two categories of people in your workplace. Kuna watu ambao wanakuja kazi na kuna watu ambao wanakuja kazini. Okay, let me try with English. There are people who come to work and people who come to the workplace. Now you know the difference? When you sit there from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, the question is, what value have you added before you ask, how much am I getting? Now that's the first question when you tomorrow get to work. The second question you need to ask yourself is this. It's not what you are getting at the end of the month, but what are you becoming as you stay on that job? Those are important questions that can help you to start thinking about whether you are adding value to that marketplace. And progress is adding value into time. And so if you're not adding value into time, you're not progressing. Let me ask my brother, how long should you stay in class 6? That's an easy question, right? Anybody wants to attempt that? That should not be hard for this audience. How long should you stay in class 6? 1 year. 1 year. Is that right? What about Form 4? 1 year. Okay. Which class do you go to after university? It's called class, let's call it class 25. Right? Suppose you went to 844. Sikuna class 25. The only difference with that class is it is not limited to walls, neither is it pegged to grades. That life is called the life or the school, the class is called the class of progress. The unfortunate thing is most people, when they leave school where progress and growth is pushed. You see, when you were young, somebody came and checked, did you do your assignment? Have you read it today? But when you finish school, you end up with an idiot's mind like mine. When I finished school, I vowed that I will never read anything when I finished school. I didn't know I was so stupid. I even said, after SMS summer. I didn't know that was the reason I was going to be broke. I'll tell you my story, how broke I was at some stage and what I did in the 2 stages that you will learn today. You see, when you leave class 24, which is maybe at graduation, you hope and you think that life will be naturally growing. That your employer will be impressed at the end of the year to look at your face, good face, to look at your wallet, empty, and add some money to your wallet. Shock on you, I am here to tell you, the highest rate they have ever paid, usually in the government, I work for government, you sit there for a whole 1 year, then someone wakes up and decides to add 3,000 shillings to your salary. You don't find that a joke, eh? You know why that's a joke? Even inflation costs 3,000. Maybe if you are earning 1,000 and they add you 3,000, that's a good salary raise, isn't it? But even if you are earning 10,000 and someone adds you 3,000, that is insult. Piga tu hesabu uone vitu zenye 10,000 shillings zingenunua last year. Today you can't buy them at 13,000. I was building. I tried buying these metals. Easy. Do you understand what I'm saying? Why that is insult? And so you think that growth will be automatic. That you'll always go to work every morning. As long as you go for 6 years, 7, and then you retire, then you will end up with money. I am here to tell you, unless you are doing number one thing which I want to bring to you in a short while, and there are only 2 lessons. So don't worry if I take time to build it up. Unless you do what I'm about to suggest to you, nothing changes. You will remain where you have been all your life. A lot of us have stayed in class 25 since we left campus. You didn't get it. This is one way, if you're a young person, to know that umerudia class sana. Wazee watakuja kusema unaoa lini. Like it should be natural for you to just see here imepita, enda to the next class. Ukiona uko na watoto wawili na unaishi kwa one bedroom, hiyo class imekupita, sio umefeli, hiyo unarudia. You in the same class twice, isn't it? Do you understand what I'm saying? Wakiita nini session ya development, you run away. Hiyo umerudia class. Na class umerudia. Does this make sense? You already write the first point. The first thing you must learn to do daily, starting today. And the charge word for this session is start today, continue tomorrow. The first thing you must learn is increase your value. Write that down. It is the value that will differentiate the results. It's not time. So increase your value. Without a change in value, time does not make any sense. Some of you who have been broken up with, who have been hurt, kuna watu bado wako single hapa, your boyfriend wake alimwacha in class 2. You know, time doesn't change anything. You know, the past is not a burden to be carried. It's a school to be learned from. So go back and check. Do an inventory. The best place to begin is here. This is easy. This will be, everybody can do this. Just start today. During the break, kaa tu chini uandike assets. Andika everything. Assets uko nayo. Andika everything. Your car, if you have. Kama nyumba ni rental, hakuna kitu unaandika. Your shoes, and try to write it. You try to give it money value on one side. See, that's very easy economic. Unaandika tu alafu unazipea. And remember, you can't sell your children, so your children are not. A wife, you don't put those ones in your wife might actually be your liability, but that depends on which wife. Now, I hope you're listening. So, today you want to start by doing what? List all your assets. Please dial your bank account uone kuna pesa ngapi. You know kuna watu bank account yao. Okay, let me put it in a respectful way. They are using a 4-digit PIN to protect a less than 4-digit. So you're secret. But take an account, just write what you have, isn't it? Alafu weka huko chini utapata kumbe aoni 50,000. Kwa hizo masufuria weka zote 50,000. Haya huko kwingine andika uliza school fee yenye unafaa kulipa. Those are liabilities. That's the easiest place to start. I don't want to be complicated. I just came with 2 lessons, so don't worry about how long I talk. How many lessons? And number 1 is increase your value. And you can't change something you don't measure. So one of the ways to know your value is your assets. How much are your net worth? Have you seen those things on TV? Mtu akitaka kupewa job serious in your net worth. You can also do it. You don't have to be given a serious job. Assets na nini? Alafu na subtract. Hiyo si ni mathematics you can do. E minus E. E kishinda hii umeisha. If your liabilities are more than your assets, umeisha. So the principle is we get compensated in direct proportion to the value we add to the marketplace. So how does the one see value? Let's say you've gone to the market. Let me welcome my fellow speaker, Mr. Isha. It's been a long time since we met. How does the one see value? Can I give you 3 ways and you can increase some of this list? The one sees value in terms of number 1, the excellence in your execution. If I deliver this session well and you understand, you can be sure I will be invited somewhere else. Now what about it? Na mimi nikiinvitiwa, I will start charging, isn't it? Yeah. Now when you invitiwa, you will be invited to pay. So there are 2 rules. Okay. You will still be invited. You know, that's the goodness, the fairness of the world. So people, there is one category, the people who pay by interest, and there are people who earn by interest. So how does that? You should have written that down. That you should know that this guy prepared to come and talk to you. So every sentence is calibrated. Don't think that I'm speaking here to make you laugh. Even when I'm making you laugh, there is a point coming that should cause you to think. So I'm using what in literature is called psychological relief, to allow you to take something serious after. Listen, friends, the world sees value in terms of number one, excellence. Write that down. Meticulosity. And who must have a big word? Anything. Meticulosity. That just means the thoughts, the passion, the energy with which you put to work. Now this is bad for men with talent. If you have a talent, I'm going to talk to you first before I talk to men without talent. But I don't know who doesn't have a talent. There are people who have talents and they resort to what I call winging. You know what winging is? You can tell from my predisposition I can rise up and speak on anything without preparing, isn't it? That's called winging. Okay, HDA language. There are people with a voice. They stand up and they pick the mic. They didn't practice. They can apologize. Listen to them. Words. Don't listen to them. It's a culture. There's a tribe in this church, and this is, sorry for those who are just coming in, but it's everywhere. It doesn't have to be this church only. It's called a tribe of mediocrity. Did you see them on Sabbath? They came not knowing that Sabbath would arrive and an announcement needed to be prepared. I want you to know the world detects, they reward, and they respect diligence and excellence. And on that point, you need to train yourself to put your head and your hand and your heart at anything you do. Let me say that again. I might say it in the way you like it. In whatsoever your hand. You know, I cannot decide to preach, but today is not preaching day. So I don't have to pull those texts. But you know, I picked that from the good book, right? It's called dexterity. To know where it starts and where it ends. How will I deliver it? What language? I asked these guys, will you have a projector? They said yes. I remember I didn't ask, will you have a HDMI cable? I failed. So I'm trying to create images that I spent a whole night creating, which should have helped me to teach. But also as a church, you can just invest in HDMI. They will not die. But I'm still doing well without the pictures, isn't it? Huh? I'm doing well without the pictures. You're following that you need to train yourself to add value. How do you know value? Excellence. Do you value a child that becomes number one? Anybody? And hata saa zingine wazazi wanafikirianga eti mtoto mwenye anapata number one is more valuable than the rest. Though it is not true, but it might be true also. Sindio? The world detects value by excellence in execution. So think through, if you're asked to come and give a sermon, to deliver a speech, think through it. What will I talk about? What will be the talking points? What are the illustrations? Who are the audience? Where's that guy? I don't know who I talked with. I asked him, what kind of audience am I expecting? What language should I use? What will be important to you in the delivery? The world respects excellence. Watch it out in sports. That's why the sportsmen are followed everywhere. It's called value. The second way the world describes value is the difficulty in your replacement. So is your job a job that can be replaced by robots tomorrow? You should be careful. If you're doing those jobs that can easily be replaced, for example, maybe cutting or some manual labor, most of those manual labors are easy to replace. And I'm not going to leave this summit without challenging you to get complex in your work in a way that you cannot be easily replaced. And it doesn't have to be complex. Sometimes you're just selling nyanya, but you deliver a different way that the whole market cannot replicate. That's how we detect value. Can I give you the third way of how we detect value? The complexity of the task. Sorry about that. So, are you easily replaced in the task? Is your task complex? No wonder a surgeon goes in for an hour and comes out 200,000 imeingia kwa bank account and is not blinking. But the one who cuts the hedges after 1 hour, there is no 1,000 bad, but of course 200. But of the same denomination, at least our normal is being paid in 100. People love good things. Am I right or I'm right? People love positivity. Is that true or true? People have order. In fact, I have a good statement I'm going to put in my next book. I'm going to list 7 D's that fall in the same category. The D that doesn't fall in that category is my D, Dianne. Death, disorder, doubt, debt, pain, disease, delay, and the death. What was happening? Let me explain what I mean by that long thing. Anything that doesn't bring life, death, disorder, anything that doesn't have form. Mtu anaamka kuhubiri, but his sermon is disorderly. So you ask him at the end of the sermon, how was the sermon? Then somebody one day said this of my sermons before I improved them. Say, the sermon was empty and void, and darkness hovered upon the face of the preacher. I'm just one another D that falls in the same category. Darkness. Ukiona disorder, tunaingia kwa nyumba and there is no place to keep things. That thing is in the same category as death. I wish I could talk to you about death. But also delay. We were supposed to start at 11, then we're starting at 11:30. You know, this thing of because of time. 0% category as disorder, disease, and the death. Please put that thing. That's one way. If you want to know how to always stay excellent, avoid those D's. Which one did you remember? Death. Avoid. Death. Avoid. Disorder. Avoid. Darkness. You guys, this is a good audience. So let me give you how to change your value, how to increase your value. I hope you made the point that an increase in value will do what? Will definitely earn you good wallets and will keep your face nice. Will fill your wallet. So how do you change? How do you increase your value? Is it by chance or by change? Write your answer. You're in the card. Huh? How do you increase your value? By change. Question is, who changes? Huh? Well, I'm going to talk to you about that. Nothing changes unless you change. If you want to know who changes, huh? In fact, the best way to know, the best predictor of what a man will do today is what they did yesterday. There is a law. That thing is picked from the Bible. I read that from a lot of people, and then I check if that which they propagate is in the Bible. One of them was philosopher and mathematician Isaac Newton. So he cheated us and he came up with a new law. He said the third law, was that the third law? Yeah. First law was action reaction. He said a body remains in constant motion. Everybody had such a thing in school. Unless acted upon by a body remains at constant rest unless after that, you know the physics agenda now, I'm just going to debunk it in America. Look here. That thing is true even for your brain. Unless you organize a seminar like this, a summit like this, and an external force acts on your brain, even on your wallet, it will remain the same. So you ask me, what will change next year? I have a prediction. Can I tell you how it will look like next year? It will be the same. It will be the same way. Unless you change, nothing changes. And so I put together out of my heart, and this is something I have tried and I have seen the results. Please listen to me when I'm telling you how to increase your value. I got 3 points of how to increase your value. How do you work on yourself? Because when you work on yourself, more than you work on other things, then your value increases. How do you work on yourself? Or maybe you can ask it this way. When? You can put it in bracket. When do you work on yourself? Number one, the first thing in the morning. I know you didn't see that coming for an investment summit. When and how? I'm going to explain that. The first thing in the morning. Now that's the one I'll take a lot of time on. There are 3 ways of working on yourself. The first one of the morning, I'll give you a bit of some 4 or 3 areas to work on in the morning. The second one of how to work on yourself is what I call OJT. Write that down. On the job training. So when do you work on yourself? Number 1, in the morning. I'll talk about that. Number 2, on the job. When you're given something little to do, decide to deliver it in a way that works on you. So when a teacher, for example, gives you an assignment, it's not the papers he wants to read at the end. It's the person that produces the assignment that matters. What are you becoming? It's not the money, but it's the journey. What are you becoming in the course of time? So when you're given an employment to do, how do you deliver it? On the job training is a way to work on yourself. So ask yourself tomorrow, what time will I arrive at work? How will I sit? What will I deliver? What are the timelines? What is the quality? And that is always a way of working on yourself. Be careful and be thoughtful when you're given a duty. Can you tell that I'm working on myself up here? Yes, I am on duty. And I put my thought to it. And today, that's one disease of the world because we are too easily distracted. But let me tell you the third time to work on yourself. Number 1 is in the morning. Number 2 is on the job. Number 3. You want to know number 3? Before I get to number 3, I would like you, I've said this thing with a lot of repetition. When you are working, have you seen robots working? They have a precision they bring to work, but there's something robots can't do. Robots can't work with attitude. Robots cannot bring humor and the human face of work. And that's something we are losing today. So when you're going to work, when you're going to do something, bring positivity into it. Bring perseverance. Bring some, ability that is unusual. Bring your personality into the thing. Don't copy others because that's a time to work on yourself, to become better every day. And number 3, I have another time for working on yourself, which is rarely gotten by our world because we are too busy. It is called reflective rest. If you want to increase value on yourself, don't be working every day, every hour, all the time. You need to take time off to reflect, to check, are you on course, to repair. It is Jesus who said, come rest a little while. Rest is important for quality work. Do you agree with me? Yes, it is. So 3 moments of working on yourself. Number 1, first, not in the morning. Don't mess up my notes. First thing in the morning, because I want to talk to you about that. Number 2, on the job. Number 3, in reflective rest. Let me talk to you about first thing in the morning. The other ones I can let you go and discover, or you call me for another seminar. I will teach you the other 2. But how then, or which areas do you work on in the morning? You see, I have installed in my curriculum of the day what I call the victory hour, or the hero's moment. A moment when I give time to myself. You see, out of the 24 hours, you just need to have 1 hour for yourself. That is a time for adding value. I call it the self hour. What do I do in those hours? I calibrate my 4 main assets. I know you're wondering, what are those 4 main assets? Let's write them down. What are you going to do first thing in the morning? The first asset to calibrate, and these things will show up in your bank account. Definitely, I don't want to lie to you. The first thing is called, write it down, the health set. What did I say? Health set is manpower, is your physical body. Because you can't tell me, oh, I want to go and look for money and you are sick. You can't get money when you're sick, is that right? You can't get money when there are worms in your psychology and your emotions have bacteria. When I got it. So now I can't change to the other. Just connect with that. Yeah? Thank you for the effort. Now that is called diligence. Yeah, like he's adjusting on the job, isn't it? I think I like this guy. He's doing a good thing. He's adding value to himself. So when you want to appear like that guy is there, isn't it? Hata wewe umekuja kupreach in your church, you'll be like, that preacher is there still. We got a connection already. People who are working. Even now as you write notes, write good handwriting. You're working on the job. Unajua kuna watu wako na mkono inaandika na kuna watu wako na handwriting. Organize. So, remember, where's the timekeeper? I'm going to ask for more time. But I don't have to teach everything because I can leave it for later. Please listen to me. This is important. When you wake up in the morning, don't wake up to start praying. I know you'd be like, hey. The first thing you do in the morning, you don't pray. Why? Because utaanza kuomba, urudi kulala, ushangae kama ulisema amen. Or don't snooze the alarm. Two things you must not do. But let me tell you what you must do. The first thing you wake up in the morning, when you open your eyes, you must deal with your health set. Because you are waking up into a physical body, isn't it? And that physical body is what has the spirit and has the brain and all things to connect with God. So before you are able to do anything, you need to know, science proves it, that while you are sleeping because of metabolism, there is something called the breakdown of molecules, and something called cortisol is highest when you wake up. What is cortisol? Cortisol is the thing that makes you to feel, there is a lion on the road. It will kill me. You know that feeling? Now the previous night you go to lala, ukifikiria kesho nitaamka. Let me use student for example. A student decides, kesho by the way, hii cat nikiamka 4 o'clock to 6. I need those 2 hours. Unalala. Unasikia alarm. Hii tu ni cat, msikue serious sana. Kwanza inanyesha, hapo ndio tunataka about. How you look like you know. So what you need to know, and have you ever slept longer than you wanted? The answer is this. Do at 20 minutes of what I'm about to tell you. 20 minutes later, you feel different if you implement this thing first thing in the morning. It's called health set. So what I do, I wake up, the first things I do is I hydrate, write that down. That is water. I move and I sweat. Easy things. Before I even sit down to pray. Why? When you move, and this thing is engraved in natural nature before we got bent up by whatever. When look at your dogs, anybody has a dog or young children, when a child wakes up, the first thing they do is do what? They stretch, isn't it? Even a dog, I have dogs in my compound. What is that? They just stretch. Lakini unafikiria utaamka alafu anze maombi. Uongo. After you maombi, you don't even understand what you're praying. Listen. Train yourself, and I have a session I'm going to share with you. It is easy, you don't have to run outside. I have an indoor session every day. Do I go outside? No, I do it in the house. You move, and I have a curriculum I'm going to share with you a little bit about it later. You just move until you're able to increase your metabolism. There are 3 or 4 advantages. One of them is that cortisol is broken down. Usually after that katana to move, you don't feel like, how do I even want to sleep? No. But that also depends on if you know how to do the evening routine, which I'm not going to try to share with you here. In fact, let me just say it ahead of time. Okay, let me say it at the end of the talk. The first thing you do is you move. What did I say? You hydrate, and what else? Please, I need you to know what you must write. Don't write every joke. You're going to repeat my joke because it might backfire on you, isn't it? Remember the joke of that guy who there's an intelligent speaker who wanted to wow his audience, and he said, The best day of my life, and his wife was there. It's good to speak with your wife in the audience. Right? When your wife can listen to the apple, so the wife was in the audience. This speaker said, the best day of my life was the day I spent next or with another woman. And the audience was so surprised. Then he went on and said, and that woman is my mother. So you wowed the audience. I know you also wow. So kuna watu wanakopiingi vitu, yani, and it's a bad culture. And I ask you, don't be a copycat. Become a student. Don't be a follower. Somebody shows up with a white suit, white shoes, we follow him to Shakahola, we die. We don't ask him, where are we going? So think about these things I'm telling you. Go and check. Go and check. Can I do exercise? If your age is beyond exercise, and you become a user, adjust to your own. Read at least 2 books on one subject before you decide, isn't it? So become a student, don't become a follower. So this guy was a follower. So I can scare you a joke. I said, I'm also going to wow my audience. So he stood up and said, yeah, this wife also. Bad mistake. Don't copy it because I work with my wife. You also try. You don't know what we have gone through to your good job. So the guy stood up and said, the best day of my life was when I spent with another. Then he forgot the rest of the joke. And he got a beating for that day from his wife. So we don't get the joke, but you'll get it later. You can come and listen to it later. So what I'm saying is, know what you need to write. In the health set, it should be your first priority to break down cortisol by doing 3 things. Hydrate. What did you write? After hydrate. Move. What else did you write? Sweat. Important. I am telling you, after just 5 minutes of doing those things, the cortisol level drops drastically, but 2 things also happen. 1, dopamine rises high. The dopamine is the feel-good hormone. I'll talk about dopamine when I come back here next time as the source of all addiction, which is affecting even wazee na wamama. Mtu ameweka food kwa nini kwa TikTok. Shida ni dopamine problem. If you had a good balance of dopamine, you would not go into all these addictions of drugs, and I'll talk about that later. The next thing that you benefit by moving, by sweating, by hydrating is something called BDNF. What is that? Brain-derived neurotrophic factors. Now, there is a study from Harvard that says there are chemical molecules generated from the brain that deter aging when you exercise. That's the only time they are produced. And then you tell you why they look as young as they look. Because they benefit from that molecule every day. Number 2, it is the thing that gives cells or neurons a longer life. It is also the learning molecule. It optimizes your brain and it sets you in a good mood. There is no better way to start your day than by starting with calibrating your health set. When you finish that, you go to the next thing called heart set. What did I say next? So I'm telling you how to add value to your day. Number 1, do some physical movement, calibrate your health. But that should also be put together with good eating, which we will talk about later. So number 2 is heart set. What is heart set? Let me talk to you about heart set a little bit. When I've jumped and I've drank some water and I've moved things like that, the next thing I do is I take my journal. I got it here. This is, I wish I could read for you what I wrote today. The one I'm using for that one I was using for preparation. Indio in Asubui. I write down what happened yesterday. This is Kumi na Gram. Really, I'm writing. And there's something that happens in the whole good handwriting. I know you want to type, some of you, but there's something that happens when you write with your hands. I wish I could talk about that. But let me talk to you about emotional processing. Because this is where we get the willpower. You have wanted to do things, but you can't achieve it. How comes? Because your emotions are, maybe your husband annoyed you, your children's you. If you can write down your emotions, if you can process them on paper, you become more intelligent with your emotions. Now something else, it clarifies your thinking. You know why? When I sit down to write about what I'm feeling, it slows down in my brain, and then it gets to be filtered through my values. You didn't hear that? That's why you need to train yourself to write. Not only does it clarify your thinking, because vague thinking leads to vague results. Is that true? Yes, clear thinking leads to clear results. And if you look at human beings, I have a study we do on cognitive distortions, diseases of attitude and problems of the mind. A lot of people have problems of their mind. That's why they think money is for the rich. You know, they have twisted, values, twisted thoughts about things. There are women who think men are dogs. You must scare you. The only twisted thinking, you've been in the dog section. There is no man who is a dog. That's called twisted thinking. But I'm not going to about twisted thinking today. I just tell you the benefits of processing your emotions. And we need it. Today we have a lot of things that annoy. So in this session of Heartset, I usually use what I call solitude, silence, and stillness. And somebody said, when stillness today is becoming a luxury. And I know it is. I know it is. Can you imagine spending 1 hour just working on yourself in the morning? Your health is good. Now you're processing your emotions. But something else, it improves your self-awareness. If you can write what you went through yesterday, you will start remembering. Like today, I captured where we went yesterday. We went visiting so-and-so, we were in church, we did that. It brings your self-awareness and it improves it. It develops your self-awareness. Now something else, when you write something down, it deepens your commitment. And some of the things that will show up in your wallet is a lack of commitment in following up with a client you said you'll follow up through. And then it shows up in your wallet because you're not committed. But by dealing with your Heartset, you grow commitment. Something else, it also serves as a life record. You know what I've told God? I will write every of my day. I created a journal behind the journal I wrote, a life well lived is worth writing about. So you can get that journal. It will help you to sections where you can do Heartset and health set. It tells you how to journal. Because some of you don't know how to journal. Just write what happened yesterday. What good thing happened? You know, how do I feel today? And you just keep writing and you point out what lesson. So at the end I told God, before I die, maybe 2 hours before I die, will let journal example, just read all of them. Today I'm going to journal that, hey, I think I did so well in that investment summit. The people ask this question, isn't it? A life well lived is worth writing about. You know why a lot of you are financial handicaps? Because an orphan, your parents never transferred to you anything. Suppose you wrote your budget of last month and your children stumbled on that. Suppose you wrote the day that changed your life and your children stumbled on that. I think life needs to be recorded. What do you think? And this is the hour of recording. We're dealing with Heartset. Are you following? And then we also do what's called captured learning. So don't use your brain to memorize numbers, figures, lesson. You're using your brain to memorize. The brain is primarily supposed to be used to think. A journal helps you to capture the information. So when you hear something good, write it down. Don't trust your brain. You will forget it, isn't it? How many of you left the house, then you forgot that you remembered something? Which you forgot? Don't remember the joke. Leave it. But some of you are intelligent. I don't like that kind of annoyance. Yeah, and then it also boosts gratitude. One of the things I do is I look for 3 things I am thankful for. Our world has become so difficult that if you don't, in fact, for those of you who are married, this is very good. Today, I wrote something good about her. She doesn't know. But it just makes me to be able to keep the dream alive of keeping the marriage, isn't it? Yeah, today the world is so hard that you find something has gone wrong, your employers. So you must train yourself to be grateful, isn't it? 3 things, and that is called Heartset. We can get church, you will always find something to complain about. Am I right? But you must train yourself. In fact, they say the best predictor of divorce is criticism. That's why these early morning hours, the book of Psalms says, I will enter his gates with thanksgiving in my heart. Let me read it backwards. The gates of heaven are closed, and thanksgiving opens it. So train yourself to be positive, to say something good, like how you introduce that one. Hey, that was a good introduction, isn't it? That is calibrated in the Heartset. You process your emotions so you don't feel like ushaenda job na wife alikukasirikia. You can't do anything, isn't it? It annoys you. This second session adds value to you by calibrating your heart. I hope you're following. But also it promotes creativity, because that's the time I write ideas of how to run the day. And you will realize it's not money you don't have, it is ideas you don't have. So question, idea inatoka wapi? One of them, the seminars kama hizi. Number 2, the books. Number 3, quiet hours where you just write things. I could do this. How best can I approach my work today? How best can I deal with my hard, difficult boss today? I know you thought I'm going to talk about money here, but no. I said before I talk about money, I must talk about what is the root of money. Where does money come from? It's in a health set, it's in a good heart set. But it also promotes focus. If you're able to write in the morning, if your heart set is good, you're able to align. I do 5, like here I wrote 5 things I must accomplish today. 5, and I align it to my major goal of life. So that removes for you distraction and every other thing. But the other thing, apart from focus and productivity, if you are able to write something, then you can describe something. You can write that down. Have you wondered how to talk to your children, to tell them certain values? You're angry, you can't communicate to them. Writing in the morning helps you to express what you feel in your... And when your children come from school, call me, I need to train them how to journal. They won't be banging their doors on you, isn't it? Because they know how to write what they are feeling. Who is going to invite me to come and teach them? I'm coming to teach that for free. In other places, I charge. So if you're able to write what you feel about your wife, then later police will not feel it, you can actually say it, isn't it? So it improves your communication skill. Now here's another law. The easiest way to improve your income, according to the millionaire Warren Buffett, he says the easiest way to improve your income is to work on your communication skills, written and verbal. 50% of your income is in your ability to communicate what you think, for you to get a client, for you to ask for business. Communication. I'm sure you didn't know that. And then there are people who babble with their language. They curse, they can't do good accent. Kani jamaa amekaa Nairobi na accent yake ni Umabei. Hapana. You know, improve your communication skills. I don't want to delay on that one. Let me leave that one. So let's go on. I am telling you how to improve your value. Number 1, deal with your head. Is that right? Number 2, deal with your heart. It's called heart set, the willpower. Number 3, deal with your soul. It's called soul set. Now let me explain why these things are important. One day you wanted to wake up. The spirit is willing. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, isn't it? Kesho nitaamka kwenda exercise. Asubuhi alarm inalia, mwili yako inakuza unaenda wapi? So the reason we are broke is not mindset alone. I'm coming to that. The reason we are broke is not our emotions alone, and our emotions can drive us to death. You're feeling like you must compete with so and so ego na nini. You keep buying things you don't need. Now mama, shida inakuanga nini? Jioni hao watu wanangojea light naisha Nairobi, light haiko. Alafu wananunua nguo zimeraruka, alafu na bauka, sasa ukisikia bauka au ununua. Ukienda nao una realize imeraruka. Ni ego too, you want to buy things you don't need. That's usually corrected at heart set. If you know what life is about, it's not about ego, it's about adding value to people, then you'll be settled. But let me also talk about soul set. In that morning hour, nishaandika what I feel. I write about how the last day went. I now pick my Bible. I pick one Bible verse. And then I meditate on it, verse by verse. Let me read for you from a good book. The book is called Education. You know, in such circles, you must be seen to read such books, right? Yeah, I'm going to quote the book Education, right? Anybody knows the book Education? It says, in daily study, the verse-by-verse method is the most helpful. Let the student take one verse and concentrate the mind on ascertaining the thought that God has in that verse and dwell on that thought until that thought becomes your own. She continues, one passage that's studied until its significance is clear is of more value than the perusal of many chapters without a definite purpose. Because when you do it like this, she says, positive instruction will be given. I have worked with it very good. I could tell you 7 things I got from just one verse that apply to me. Today I read Isaiah 5:11. From 9 is up to my thought, and not your thoughts, just like the heavens high. But then comes to verse 11. So shall my word be that goeth forth from my mouth. It shall not return empty, but it shall do what? Accomplish the purpose for which I have said. I saw God as someone who sets a purpose, and his words do not go back, and he doesn't go back on his words. You see that? Then I say, I want to become like that. I set a purpose and I accomplish it. That is the time I write my prayers. I don't just pray things that I imagine in my head. You know the prayers you will see mtu akiomba hapa, God of Abraham, hapo unajua Abraham ni nani? Isaac and Jacob. No. That's the time I write my prayers. And my prayers go in this wise. Number 1, gratitude and answered prayer. So I look for 3 things to thank God for. I got good health, I have a good wife. So you have a wife. I'm a good wife. Yeah, you just thank God for something. You have good children or you have children. Like I'm just telling you, there's something to always be thankful for. Then the second part of prayer should have confession, isn't it? And you can always get that from the Bible. If you did something wrong, you can ask God to forgive you. Then there's something called intercession. You often pray aloud if you have no one to pray for. So you just think around. Is there your cousin who is sick? Someone lost their father? I wrote that today. So when I go to pray, I know the definiteness of that prayer. Because I know how good prayer leads into good life and even good economics, isn't it? I know, it makes sense. And then you also need to make a prayer called the creation prayer. What's that? Ask God to make you something. So out of that verse, so like today I ask God, help me to keep my word. One thing, you know, when you are prodigal, you remember the prodigal son? When he was running away from home, his prayer was, give me, give me, give me. Nobody told him how deserved. When he prodigal, when he was coming back home, he said, make me. John. So ask God to make you something. Ask God to make you a diligent worker. Ask God to make you. And then the last part of prayer, ask for particular provision. Lord, help me get this deal. Is that right? All that is on soul set. Advantages of prayer, internal wisdom, fortitude, the out of gratitude. Yeah? And then it also allows you to exercise your faith. The last thing I want to tell you of how to add value to yourself is mindset. Let's repeat the 4 ways of adding value. Number 1 is health set. You remember that one? Number 2 is what? Heart set. Don't let your emotions angered by your neighbor. No, write that in a journal, leave it there, move on. And then soul set means have a connection with God. This is called the God power. You know, talk about manpower, willpower, and now God power. And the last one is called mental power, mindset. And mindset is serious. This is why now you sit and plan for the day. What are your attitudes about work, about money, about your children, about family? So you write out what you're going to do with definite goals. And this will be calibrated if you have books that you read. When you are driving, when you are coming from Dandara to town, how long does it take? 40 minutes. Hook on an audio book, isn't it? It's called Traffic University. You know where I got that idea? They say if you spend 2 hours in traffic per day and you're always listening to an audio book only for those 2 hours, at the end of 1 year it is equivalent to a university 3-year degree. So you wonder, how much is this guy? I don't read all the time, but in my car, in my mobile phone, there is always an audio book. I call it Traffic and University. Before I start the journey, I book. I just listen. Wonderful places to calibrate what I call the mindset. Did I tell you that the mind remains in constant rest until acted upon by external force? Well, friends, I think I've done well with that. I want you to add value to yourself. Is that right? I have overrun my time, but I have 2 lessons. I think I can bring up that second lesson. I will argue for time. The second lesson was important, as important as the first one. But you know why I brought this lesson? People don't end into poverty just in one day. Neither do people end in poverty in one area only. The poverty you see in your wallet is a sign that something is wrong up, or something is wrong here, or something is wrong in the hand. Does that make sense? The hand needs to be strengthened. The heart needs to be strengthened. Calibrate in the morning. Don't go to work and expect you'll be paid because you showed up at work. But go to work and expect you'll be paid because you came with an attitude, with energy, with value. And I want to close it here. But before I close it, Honey will make a comment.
So my comment is only one, that there is one way in which we either add value to ourselves or decrease the value, and that is in the choice of marriage partner that you make, and also the relationship decisions that you make along the way. And I'll give you a fictitious story, which probably many of you have watched in reality. There is a story of a young man, and this young man decides that he is going to be to help the women sire children recklessly. So he's a baby daddy to several others. You know that story of baby daddies and baby mamas. And soon he is in a beautiful marriage, but he's a father of many generations outside his own home. And out of that, he has to fund the education and the life of all these children. And in his own home, the emotions of the home are not stable, and so he's always quarreling. And because his emotions are not stable, he does not have enough energy to make more money. And the marriage ends up in divorce, and divorce is costly, isn't it? You spend money to actually divorce. And there are people who are broke, not because they are not earning much, but because they make the wrong decisions when it comes to relationships. You have children, outside marriage. You are divorcing left, right, and center. You have a wife. I met a certain gentleman, and this gentleman had a wife in each continent. And I asked him, okay, so how do you manage to take care of all these wives? And he was like, I'm just looking for a place to hide, because each of them require what? Money from you. So make a wise choice when it comes to relationships, because the person you choose to stay with will either be a liability or an asset. So marriage is an economic decision. Choose wisely.
Well, that is beneficial if you haven't chosen. But I like your wisdom, because there are a lot of young people here who think you just marry anyone and become rich, or I'll marry the rich person and remain rich. It's not possible. You must use that wisdom in its goodness. And I like that ability to think. Pastor Karibu, do you know, I was just debunking how come we end up with good faces but empty wallets. And we say the issue is value, isn't it? And 4 ways of adding value. I ask you, in the morning, this thing is important because you plow that 1 hour. Can you imagine, as I stand here, I have spent a whole hour with me, with myself. And a lot of us, we struggle to go through the day. That's what we are hustling to go through the day. So, don't lose the wonder and the amusement of life into responsibility, into being busy, into being stuck and stagnant and you must go. No, spend an hour for yourself and think through these important issues. And this summit, one of the important issues I want you to think about is money. It's money. Why is it important to pause in the moment to think about money? Just so that you are sure you're spending time, you're spending energy on the right things in this one. For some people, major on minors. Introspection is important to check, are your resources going into important things? I have asked him if I can mention the second point. Do you want to hear it? Yes. Apart from adding value to yourself, number 2, manage your seasons. Write that down. Seasons can alter your value. You know that is true? Let me start with what is annoying. There's something that I've seen with medicine, and Honey will make this comment later, and disease and hospital. Every middle class is one disease away from poverty. Do you hear what I say? There is a season when things go wrong, when you don't have all the money you wanted. Life and business are like seasons. When you cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. So life gets better when you agree, not by chance, but by change. You see, how do you deal with the 4 seasons? If I can mention, number 1, winters. Manage the winters. What are winters? Winters are like nights or difficult times, regressions. You know, when there is no money, when you are lonely, when there is no love, when you are broke. Anybody has ever experienced that? A broken heart. There are social winters, there are relational winters, there are economic winters. Learn how to deal with disappointment. Trouble will come soon. And this is an economic equation, because if you don't know how to handle trouble, it's going to, work wrong for you. Some of us think disappointment zinanikujia jumini mkisi. No. Disappointments are normal and universal. Some of you think that disappointment sorry, I don't know why I say that. So some people, they save us a lot of money, then comes January, pesa imeisha, sio? So some of you can't run away from January. Some of you think that you run away from January by tearing it off the calendar. You will still stay there. You can't decide that in Monday, you see it on social media. You don't want Monday. No, just learn to go through bad days. It's a skill you need to know. That's a winter time. You cannot get rid of one day and say, hii siku ni mbaya, hata nipeleke at the end of my life. No. Learn to go through hard stuff. Get stronger, get wiser, get better, not bitter. So today I ask you, when it comes to winter, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. When it comes to winter, don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenges, wish for more wisdom. So what are you going to do with winters? Management. Days when you and your husband are muongei, vitu ziko called manage. Usianze kurukaruka umetafuta watu unaambia kila mtu about your problems. Manage winters, because if you don't, some of the economic problems will be in covering the mistakes you made because of not knowing how to deal with winter. Am I right? So know how to manage winter. Life is broken. I can't explain more about that. The second thing in managing your season, and I cannot believe these 2 things can solve your life. Number 1, add value. Number 2, manage your seasons. So in managing your seasons, handle your winters with wisdom. Number 2, take advantage of the spring. Now most of you came from agricultural lands. The spring was a short time with 2 rainfalls, maybe 2 weeks, and that was the time if you didn't plant in that season umeisha. Anybody knows what I'm talking about? That is called spring. Spring represents opportunity, and it will always come after winter. So, let's say you've been broke. Don't expect you'll be broke throughout. After that, something will come out later. This investment summit is a spring for some of you. After breakup, there is going to be a boy walking around and looking for a single girl, isn't it? That is your spring. Unafaa kuona, ungare, you prepare yourself. So, but you must do something about the spring, isn't it? There is no guarantee because spring ilikuja, in summer you will have it. No, if you didn't do anything, umeisha. So how do you manage your seasons? When it is winter, manage. When it is spring, plan. Jesus was a master teacher. I'm still learning after him. This guy told a good story. He said, a certain sower, you know what he did? He had some seeds. I like to think that those seeds were very good. That even when they fell when they first fall on the rock, bado zilimea, sindio? Though hazikuwa na roots, But the one that I was interested in is the one that fell on the roadside, and then the birds did what? But the sower was wise. What did he do? He didn't go chasing the birds. Because when you go chasing the birds, you leave the farm. The guy stayed on the farm and he kept sowing. Some went into ponds. They came out chopped, but he didn't stop. And now you see I've wasted so much seed. The idea is when it is sowing time, sow in the morning, keep sowing in the evening. One time you will get a good seed. Amen? So keep doing your business, keep doing your craft. One day you will get a good audience. Remember the way I'm teaching, I am sowing. One day, what is your ideas of what you could do? For me to harvest later. The issue is either you become better at planting seasons or you have to be better at begging in summer. One or two of those two. Which one do you want? You have to become better at planting during the spring, or you have to become better at begging during or you hire someone to do for you. I think that's a good idea. So there's a song, this honey as I was preparing this part, you played a song in the house that was saying, are you sowing the seeds of the kingdom, brother, in the morning, bright and fair? And says, are you sowing the seeds of the kingdom, brother, in the heart of the noonday's glare, in the still and solemn night, for a harvest pure and white, all along the fertile way, and says, come and join the ranks today, the ranks of sowing. And I think there is a sowing season here. There are things that Isha and Pastor will tell to you that will ask you to make a change in your life. This is a sowing time. It says, for the harvest time is coming on, and the reapers. The reaping one will soon be done. Will your sheaves be made? You know that song? For the harvest time is coming on, and the reapers work will soon be done. Soon be done. Will your sheaves be made? Will you gather? Women, you know that tune. Are you sowing today because the season is coming? That law of sowing and reaping is a good one because you sow thistles, you get thistles. So if you want to know how comes my pocket is empty, ask the person the owner of the pocket, what were you doing 5 years ago? If that's the sowing that you sowed is what you are reaping today. And then number 3, protect your summer. And there are only 4 seasons to take care of. Number 1, winter. What do you do with winter? Manage. Spring. What should you do with spring? Plant. Summer. What should you do at summer when it is hot? Protect. Take care of what you start. Don't start things and leave them hanging. As soon as you plant, weeds will grow. Is that true? I know that from my farm. I just planted like 2-3 weeks ago. This is the concept in the great controversy. Truth and error, light and darkness, wheat and tares. And we must be careful to check. Ukianza kitu mzuri, you must watch that to protect. Even a good family must be protected against outsiders. Ukianza biashara today, you must keep watching it. At what rate? The ratio is in the Bible. 6-1. You get that ratio? Anybody know that ratio? If you sleep too long, if you rest too long, the weeds will grow into your shoes. So how long should you rest? Just enough to work on yourself. But at summer, it's time to pour the water and these things. Prevent the weeds. Be available to work during the summer. And then number 4, the last one. I thought I needed to mention this. Thank you for adding this time. You mentioned 2 points. Number 1, add value for yourself. Practical ideas. Deal with your health, heart, soul, and mindset. Second point, manage your seasons. Winter. What do you do with winter? I'm sure you are following. Manage bad times. Number 2, spring. What do you do with spring? What about summer? Okay. And when it comes to the harvest, which is the fall, harvest, show up to harvest or reap without complaint, without apology. I know you don't get it. That means if you end up broke because you didn't implement these things. Don't start blaming the government, weather, or traffic. Take responsibility. It is the highest form of civilization. Let me put it that way. In fact, the day you grow into an adult is the day you take responsibility for everything that happens to you. Usianze kublame. Watu wanakuwa na list, by the way. Taxes, high cost of living na mtu alinunua Cayenne jana. Shida sio high cost of living. Ni wewe hauna pesa. So when the reaping time has come, reap honorably. You see, we had a little farm and we need to protect the farm. We went there and found there was a paltry harvest. We took that harvest, but we took the lesson also. It is us who did plant. It is us who did not watch all the crops. Maybe we did put manure or something. We need to train ourselves. There's a good verse in the Bible about Joseph. Genesis 39 verse 22 says, in the prison, everything that was done there, he was the doer of it. And that is true. Men are architects of their own life. It is you who is broke. There's a good phrase in my language that the brokenness of your brother cannot prevent you from sleeping. Anybody can translate that? And that is true. And there's a good Negro scripture that says, it is me, O Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Learn to take personal responsibility. If someone will go and sell, I am the one who will do it, isn't it? If someone will give this talk, I am the one who will do it. So, reap in the harvest. There's another good text, Jeremiah 8:22 says, the harvest is past. The summer is past, and we are not done well. Let me tell you how you handle money as an index in whether you'll be saved. God has weaved these principles into time, into people, into the things you see. As you go around life, I ask you in two ways. Add value to yourself. That will attract money to you. Number two, manage your seasons. What can you do with a summer? What can you do with winter? When are you going to begin? And I ask you, start today, continue tomorrow. Is there something I say that you must go and act on immediately today? Here is the great law of self-discipline. I want you to think in your mind now. Don't forget this story. This is the one I'm closing with. I want you to think in your mind now, a bridge you cross every day. Just go to that bridge. Maybe it's the one at work. One bridge you cross every day. Suppose you decide today that tomorrow when you cross that bridge, you'll take a little stone, a tiny pebble, and throw it on the bridge. Suppose you decide that. Still, how many of you can do that? You can throw a stone across a bridge. A small stone. You can. Cunning, you can. Like ability. I know you're wondering, what Adventists are in overthinkers? There's nothing to overthink. It's just a story I am putting in my mind to teach a lesson. A stone, like there's no prophetic stone here. A stone and a bridge. Is that anything you can do? Okay, that stone, let me explain the image and I know what your mind is thinking. That stone represents a tiny little shift in disciplines that you can do out of the whole lesson I have taught, including you can decide I'm just going to do what? To monitor my expenses. A tiny little stone. So on Monday, you keep it up for bridge, and how will you feel? God made it such that when we accomplish our duty for the day, it works on our self-esteem. You feel like, yeah, you know how you feel when you make your bed, you've done your things in the morning. You feel nice, you go through the day. Let's say you've done your morning, hat set and all that. The next day you wake up, pass the bridge, take the stone, throw. Then comes that day, because life is usual. You come late, or you are tired, or you forgot. Now Peter bridge by so many meters, isn't it? What do? You tell yourself, your bridge, you are important. Ndatupa kesho, 2 stones, isn't it? Alafu, because you have trained your brain now to forget the third day, hizo vitu pia. Sato, nitatupa. I only need to compensate. That's not what you do. If you thrill day 1, you thrill day 2, and day 3 you've forgotten. You know what you do when you You turn and go back to the bridge. And pick the stone and do what? What are you doing? You are telling yourself that the things you decide you will do, your brain knows I will not go back over it. So you build a barrier against what I call procrastination. For that also is a disease of the mind, and it shows up in the pocket. I pray that we will do something about this message. But before I say it, maybe I'll say this later. I have a workshop where I can sit with you and work with you how to install some of these disciplines every day. And if you're interested, we can talk about it in the course of the day. For now, I want to pray that God will give us the heart to increase our value, not just at home, in the marketplace, even in the church. I also want to pray that we will be given the wisdom to manage our seasons. Is that a prayer you also want to make? Let's stand as we pray. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for showing us these laws that exist in your word. We ask that they make our hearts glad, they strengthen our bodies and our minds, that much more they produce an economic effect, but there will be plenty for us to live on and to do your work. I pray that you will give us ideas and the skills to improve ourselves daily. I pray that you will help us as we go through the seasons, that we will set up our days in a master way to produce excellence, that when the bad days come, we will look up to you where our help comes. And we pray that you will carry us even to the harvest day, that as we plant every day, we will plant of good seeds, that on the harvest day we will not be disappointed. But we also pray for your blessing, that the fields where we work in, the offices where we go to, the work that we do, will be covered by your hands, that you will cause productivity in our borders. I pray for the next speakers that your Spirit will still be with us to give us the knowledge that you have intended for us to do. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. Wow, that was quite thrilling. What an experience we had with the first speaker. I noticed you can listen to Engineer Andrew over and over again, right? Whereby part of my work is even done, whereby I don't have to even engage the audience anymore. Thank you very much, Pastor, and our sister, Dr. Dianne. That is our family. It was meant to be a break. We will do a break right here. So that we invite the next speaker.
Nadhani mnanisikia huko nyuma. Okay, so do as a so follow me. Here we go. Stretch your hands. Stretch your hands. Stretch your hands. Okay, now when I instruct, don't stop doing this, yeah? I'll instruct you. You sit, you stand, and then you flap, and then we will switch the commands. Okay, there we go. So, sit, stand. Oh, wengine hapo wameka. Okay, so here we go. You sit, stand, flap. Sit, stand, flap. Now I'm changing the commands. You flap, you do what? You sit, and then you stand. Okay, here we go. Okay, flap, sit, stand. Flap, sit, stand. Now I'm going to change the two commands of sitting. We're not going to sit and stand. I'm going to say, instead of sitting, you stand. And instead of standing, you sit, right? So make sure you're very keen. I just want to observe. Okay, stand, sit. I've switched the command. Okay, now let's do it once again. I'm giving you a second chance. I switched the command. Instead of sitting, you stand. Instead of standing, you sit. Okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. Everyone, everyone. Okay, sit. No. I switched the commands. Instead of sitting, you stand. And instead of standing, you sit. Okay, let's go. Let's stop this. Okay, stand. Sit. Stand. Sit. Joshua. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You may take your seats. I once again want to thank the previous speakers for that thrilling teachings. He has left us with sets, mindset, heart set, and all that. Of course, he has left us with a feeling that we can do something extraordinary already, right? Yeah, thank you very much, engineer, from where you're listening.